Welcome to the channel, guys. We are back again for another First Impression Fridays, and today I'm going to be doing first impressions of Vanilla Shot and Lune Feline. So stay tuned for that. If you like the content, hit that like and subscribe button. I really do appreciate it. Now, I did actually decide to do both these because they are both vanilla heavy fragrances, or at least that's the impression that I've gotten. So I thought they would make a good pair in that respect. Also good for fall winter, so something worth trying out right now because I think the season is probably right for both of these. And you know, I've heard a lot about this Lune Feline from a lot of people, and I've always been curious about it. Although looking into it, it's not the kind of fragrance that I originally thought it was, but we'll see what it actually smells like. And of course, Olfactive Studios Vanilla Shot. Haven't really heard anything about this brand, but this did sound interesting, so I thought I would try it out. But without further ado, let's get into it. I'm going to start with the Olfactive Studios, so Vanilla Shot, and let's get into it. I think the first impression I got from the name is that maybe it would be a little bit boozy, but I don't think that it's going to be based on what I've seen of this fragrance. That's pretty interesting. There's something there that's a little bit green, actually. I must say there's a bit of a vibe in there that reminds me a little bit of like a Vicks or Hall's cough drop. Okay, that actually smoothed out, so it was almost like a rough candy-like feel. Still kind of there, but it has kind of smoothed out, so that was just off the initial rip, but I think that it's smoothed out a little bit already. Just a couple seconds. And it does have a somewhat candied vibe. There's something in here that actually gives me the impression of like a cherry throat lozenge, not to make it sound bad, but there is definitely a fruitiness there that originally it smelled a little bit more like cherry, or like it was trying to be cherry, but it wasn't. But now it's just going into more of a fruity kind of vibe. There is something there that is candied a little bit. It does still kind of have that Hall's kind of vibe, which is not horrible. I know that's like some people get that with latent, and I do sometimes smell that with latent. Other times I don't. So I'm not sure what mixture of aroma chemicals does that, but it does give a little bit of that impression. And there is a lot of sweetness, and actually I only a little bit pick up on the vanilla here. I definitely was expecting it to jump out on me or at me right away. It's not really doing that. It's more in the background. There's a little bit of sweetness, and there is a little bit of undertones that definitely make me think of vanilla. But yeah, candied does come off a little, still a little bit cherry, but candy, a Hall's sort of throat lozenge. It's okay, but I always find that sort of throat lozenge vibe a little bit unpleasant, or not that it's unpleasant, but I don't know that I would want to smell that way. But ultimately, I gotta let it settle a bit and see what's going on with this one. It is definitely getting sweeter, but we'll see how that one goes in a second. But I'm gonna go to the Lune Feline now and check that one out. And like I always say, I hate these dabbers, so I usually just dump a little bit on because that's the only way to get a really good feel for it, I find. That's interesting. There is a freshness, and it is definitely a very green vibe. Like, I've smelled that kind of really fresh green kind of a take before. It's just very airy, Very pleasant. And again, this is one I was really expecting vanilla to pop out right away, but there is this sort of airy, sort of aromatic kind of vibe. And I can see a little bit of resinous qualities kind of seeping in the background, giving it a little bit more depth, a little bit more weight, but it is still very, very light, very fresh, and it does have that sort of green note that's, I don't want to say it smells like grass, but there is something there that certainly gives me that impression, which is a little bit strange. Again, not really what I was expecting from this fragrance at all. But underneath that, so it is kind of darkening up a little bit, getting a little bit thicker. There is some kind of a resinous feel to it, a little bit heavier, a little bit almost darker, that's sort of coming out from the back. And actually, yeah, that greenness is fading quite a bit. I mean, that sort of very light, airy, almost fresh opening is definitely darkening up quite a bit. Still don't really pick up on much sweetness or much vanilla or anything like that. It's more resinous, a little bit dark. Almost smoky, but not quite. Interesting. So I'm going to go back to Vanilla Shot, see if it's changed a little bit in the last couple of minutes, see what the story is there. So I would say that the sort of Halls Vicks kind of throat lozenge vibe is gone, which is good. It still has a very light kind of a light fruitiness, but it's not really very fruity anymore. It's kind of hard to describe exactly the direction that it's taken. It's not really darker, but it is a little bit more thick. The quality also smells better. That is one of the things that I feel when it does have a little bit of a remnants of hulls. It does make me think of a lower quality fragrance. But that slightly candied vibe is there. There is a little bit of sweetness, but not overly sweet. And it is getting better, for sure. There's something there. It's almost like a slight spice. And it does smell a little bit clean, too. So that's interesting. I'm going to go back to the Lune Feline, see if it's changed or developed a little bit in the last minute or so, but we'll see if it's changed at all. So I would say that original greenness, that airiness is gone. It's much more resinous. It's not really, really dark, but it does remind me a little bit more of a somewhat resinous, again, almost smoky, but it's not smoky. Reminds me almost of like, it almost reminds me of like the ashes from incense or something like that. It's not powdery or something that gives off the impression of ashes, but it just has that kind of resinous, like I said, almost smoky vibe. But like I said, very surprised this one, I would say, has more depth and character. It's not exactly sweet, so I was expecting more vanilla in this one in some respect, and maybe that'll start to manifest a little bit later. But it has gone from that very airy, light green kind of a vibe to a much more resinous, almost dark kind of a vibe. But you know what? I think I'm going to cut the video there. That's my initial first impressions. I do think they are both suitable for the fall winter because they do tend to, both of them, get a little bit darker. They're a little bit thicker and robust, although I don't find the Lune Feline to be particular particularly sweet. I do think the vanilla shot is sweeter. It does still have a little bit of that candied vibe to it. And again, both these ones, I think they're fairly okay to wear whenever. I mean, I would need to soon develop more to really get an idea. I think if anything, the Lune Feline is probably more suitable to formal ones than the vanilla shot, which is probably a little bit more casual. And I would say that's really the big difference with respect to when they would be good to wear. But other than that, I think they're reasonably versatile. Yeah, I would definitely say the Lune Feline has something about it which I think would suit formal occasions much better than the vanilla shot. Anyways, like I said, gonna cut the video there. Let me know in a comment down below if you've tried anything from either one of these houses, so Olfactive Studio or Atelier. And if there's anything you think I should check out from them. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.